Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.
Staten Island artist Scott Lobaydo paid tribute to the 13 troops who recently died near the airport in Afghanistan. Lobaido says he's paying homage to the servicemen and women who helped give him the greatest gift of all time, the opportunity to be an artist. NTD's Jason Perry attended the event.
We are here in Staten Island where artist Scott Lobaydo just unveiled his memorial tribute to the 13 troops that recently passed away in Afghanistan. As you can see, there's 13 stars, with each of the troops' names and ages on each star, and they're all pretty young. 11 Marines, 1 sailor, and 1 soldier. Lobaydo says he wants to get people out of their daily routine for a time to reflect.
Everything happens overnight. Everything changes by the minute, with social media, whether it's, a hurricane, the Yankees won, or whatever it is. We just keep rolling, and we forget. We have a bad habit of forgetting. And I know it's been about 2 weeks now, and it's already starting to... People aren't really remembering about the sacrifices that these guys made.
The artist used gold stars to represent the families that are suffering and show that they have to deal with the pains of war as well.
Of course, empty pair of gold boots for each one and their names. And I was just going to put the names on, and I said, no, wait, I have to put the ages on, the youth.
Anthony D'Adessa and his wife came to see the memorial tribute. Their son is in the Marines, and he was at the airport in Afghanistan when the 13 troops were killed in the suicide bombing. He's in Kuwait now, waiting to return home. Anthony said his wife had just sent their son a picture of the memorial.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning there, so we'll see if he answers.
Lobaydo has this message for his fellow Americans.
To those of you out there who suck up to milk and honey like I do, just pay it forward. Pay attention and remember the reason why we have this milk and honey. No matter how bad things are, no matter how bad they are, they're better than anywhere else in the world because of them.
Anne Marie Cangialosi, who works for the Tunnels for Towers Foundation based in Staten Island, said her CEO, Frank Siller, paid off the mortgage of the fallen Marine Riley McCullum. The Marine left behind a pregnant wife. And a longtime fan of Lobaydo came to see the tribute as well.
It's a shame that we have to come to this memorial of the 13 that were killed in Afghanistan, but this is what Scott does. He wants to let us never forget.
Scott Lobaydo wanted to keep this event separate from 9/11 so people could stop to remember those who gave their lives so we could enjoy these freedoms. Jason Perry, NTD News, New York.
A pro-life tweet landed a video game company CEO in hot water. Reports say he's been there since the company's founding, but stepped down after the backlash. NTD's Miguel Moreno has that story.
To get the very smooth movement.
Some are calling the former CEO of a video game company one of the latest victims of cancel culture. In a tweet, John Gibson expressed his support for the Texas abortion law, saying, "I felt it was important to go on the record as a pro-life game developer." Days later, the company Tripwire said in a statement Gibson had stepped down as CEO. The same statement said his comments disregarded the values of their whole team, their partners, and much of their broader community. The company also apologized for Gibson's tweet.
They should just stay out of it. This guy is expressing his private, political, and religious views.
Mike Davis is the founder of Unsilenced Majority, an advocacy group that describes itself as conservative and aims to fight back against cancel culture. We don't know exactly why Gibson stepped down. The company didn't give his reason for doing so, and neither parties have answered our questions.
So what's your assessment of what's happened here? Was Gibson canceled?
It appears he was canceled. He was canceled because he has pro-life views. And these corporations, these companies are sending a message to Christians that they're not allowed to participate in the public square. And that's wrong. When people can't express their personal, political, or religious views without fear of being fired or chased out of their jobs, that's cancel culture.
Gibson has called himself Christian in the past. Looking at their older tweets, we can see that Gibson and the company have openly supported causes like Black Lives Matter and racial justice. Davis says companies need to stick to what they produce, be it video games or food, and let workers express their views freely unless they interfere with their industry.
If this continues, like what's happened to people who've been canceled, what's the worst that can happen? Why should Americans be worried about that?
Because you see this with big tech, you see this with academia, you see this with these woke corporations, you see this with big media. They're trying to chase people out of the public square. It's bad for the American republic. We are a republic. It requires engagement by American citizens and the American people. And when you are canceling one half of the American people because you don't agree with their political views, you can't sustain a republic for very long.
Tripwire has appointed Alan Wilson as their new CEO. He has also been there since the company was founded. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
In recent times, numerous teachers have spoken out against the curricula they're required to teach. From comprehensive sex ed, forms of the quasi-Marxist critical race theory, to curricula they say are political or undermines traditional values. NTD's Grace Coulter speaks with a teacher who recently resigned for this reason. Here are the details.
Derived from the interrelated.
Sam Crowley, a music teacher at Draper Park Middle School in Utah, says he couldn't in good conscience teach students a new curriculum at his school. So he handed in his resignation last month, losing both his income and his dream job.
I couldn't teach curriculum that I thought was bad or harmful or would cause problems for kids and their families. And so I left.
That curriculum is called Second Step, which is part of social emotional learning, or SEL. Crowley says some of the underlying messages of the program subtly encourage children to become activists and undermined the family. This includes teaching students that their parents are roadblocks to their goals, and that older generations don't know or haven't had to face or think about problems we're dealing with today. Crowley says he thinks this sends a message to kids that they can't look to their parents for guidance. In addition, when Crowley looked into CASEL, the organization that produced the curriculum, he became even more alarmed. On its website, CASEL says its SEL curriculum is aimed at redistributing power to promote social justice through increased engagement in school and civic life. The program also includes disrupting and resisting inequities. Crowley says this type of language strikes him as Marxist, and he thinks this type of curriculum is trying to push a socialist agenda. What's more, he says the curriculum is copyrighted, which makes it harder for parents to access and read.
It doesn't matter what the content is. If mom and dad can't look at it, you shouldn't teach it.
Crowley's not the only teacher who's chosen to leave a job rather than betray a conscience. Last month, 2 elementary school teachers, one in Connecticut and one in Virginia, resigned over curricula that incorporated critical race theory.
And after only 6 years as a teacher in Connecticut, I decided to resign from what I thought would be my forever career because I felt like more of a political activist than a teacher in my own classroom.
School board, I quit. I quit your policies, I quit your trainings, and I quit being a cog in a machine that tells me to push highly politicized agendas on our most vulnerable constituents, the children.
Crowley called the decision to leave his job heartrending and said he and his wife prayed about what to do.
We asked God if this was a big enough deal to lose our income over, because that's really serious, and I love my job. Like my dream job. And so we said, is this a big enough deal? And he told us, all my children are a big deal. And I knew that the curriculum was not good. I knew that it would lead to bad places. And if all of his children are a big deal, then I couldn't teach it. It was a big deal. So we wrote a resignation that night.
He has a message for parents, grandparents, and guardians.
If you're not comfortable with what's happening in your school, you need to do what you need to do to protect your kids. We have to protect the kids. We have to teach them right and wrong. We have to teach them the basic values that make America, America. Because if we don't, We're not going to lose just the kids, we're going to lose our nation.
Crowley says God gave him the strength to take a stand, and so he says he can do the same for everyone else too. He says it won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Grace Coulter, NTD News.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to catch all of our programs on TV. NTD Evening News is on every weekday at 6:30 p.m. Find your local NTD channel at ntd.com/TV.
Everything that's reported on television isn't always true, but it should be. NTD, the power of truth. Now available 24/7 on television and streaming platforms.